I hope you enjoyed doing the exercises and you have finished them. We are going to go over now the solutions of both exercises that we had. And I think it's going to be interesting and it's going to be important to go over because there are a couple of issues that I would like to show you. So the first one was the calculator. And we wanted to do something like this. Let me show you. So it's in the solution that I have. It's in the calc1 directory. And if I run pluck up, it will run it. Okay, now I can go to the localhost 5000, and here we have these two entry boxes and the selector. So for the operator. So let's see, first of all, we have the route for the root pass, and this is the HTML, which is getting a bit big now. It's gonna move out to a template later on when we learn about it, but for now it's okay. So what is in this form? What's in the HTML? First of all, there is the form, okay, which has an action going to the /calc, and here we are mapping, defining what happens on the /calc route. In the form, we say that the method is going to be post. So down here, where we define the route, we say that it's a post method, not a get request. And so that's how the declaration of the form. Inside the form, there is the input method, input field, which is a text field in this case. So you can type anything basically. And the name of the field is going to be X. There's also another one, which is where the name is Y. Okay, so these are the two fields here, two boxes here. Okay, we didn't do any design here or to make them smaller or bigger or whatever. I hope that you can see it on white here. And then there's the selector. Okay, so this is the pull down menu. So the pull down menu looks like this. You have a start, the select, and it has a name, which is OP now because that's for operator. And then it ends here, the selector. So this is the selector thing. And then widget maybe. And then within there are these options. So each option starts with an option tag and ends with an option tag. And between the two is the whatever you would like to be displayed. So it's the plus, the minus, the slash, and the star. So this is what is going to be displayed here. This is the actual value that the user sees. And then within the options, there is a field called, an attribute called value. And for there I would put something textual. So it won't, because that's the actual value that's being sent to the server. So the server won't know about the plus and the minus, only about the words add, deduct, div, and multiply. And it's interesting, especially if you'd like to localize your application. Now, in this case, these are operators, so there are signs probably in every country, in every language. These are the same signs of the mathematical operators. But if the selection is something that has a meaning in a language, then probably you would like to translate that. But on the other hand, here in the value itself, you would probably want to have the same value, because that's how the server understands what you sent in. So I don't know, let's say colors, you're selecting colors, and then you would either write it in English here. So this is going to be the English version, or the French version, or the Hebrew version, or the Japanese version, or whatever. And this is going to be the same all the time, doesn't matter. So it's going to be blue in English, let's say, all the time. Doesn't matter the language here, and that's going to be sent over. So, okay, so that's enough. Way too much other theory here. That's the form. And then the route that actually processes the data. So in this route, we have the body parameters, which we saw earlier when we were dealing with post requests. This is how we get access to the actual values that were sent over from the browser. And then we call the get method, and then we fetch the value of the x, y, and the op fields, and we assign them to these variables x, y, and op. And then we also create a variable called result, and into the result we assign the $x plus $y if the operator is add, and do the same with minus and multiplication, the star, and the division. Okay, and then we send back the result. And obviously we can have all kind of solutions for this the whole thing, and I used here these variables just to I mean, we used it several times, so it can be useful. So now let's see, we can use that 2 plus 3, and it gave us the result as we expected. But there are some issues with this code. So you can look at the code and say, okay, I solved it differently, but you can also could point out several issues that you have this code. And I would suggest that you stop the video now and think about the issues that you might encounter with this code. And once you thought about it, then only then continue the video. So pause. Okay, now you're back from the thinking. So a couple of things that I can show you already here. What happens if the user forgets to type in something here or doesn't type in anything and then click on calculate? The result is going to be 2. Okay, so the default value, the calculator took the nothing as 0. But what happens on the terminal, on the console, you can see that there is this warning, argument empty string is a numeric in addition. So the value that we got here, the $y actually was undef, okay, or sorry, it was the empty string in this case, not undef. And then when we used it in the plus operator, then Perl complained because the answer 2 turns off warnings. And I think that's a good idea, it has warnings, because in this case, well, in this case you might say that, okay, that's fine, that the default value is 0, but I'm not really sure if that's really should be. Maybe what you should do, what the application should do, is give an error when the user doesn't type in one of the values, because maybe that's the better choice than to assume that's gonna be 0. Okay, it all depends on you, but that's something that you have to think about it and decide. And there's another main issue here that we can look at here on the UI. So what if we divide it and we can even type in 0 now this time, and then we get an internal server error. And if you look at the terminal, then you say route exception. Here you can see illegal division by 0, but this is something not nice. Okay, so the fact that the console has this information, that's good, but this is really something not nice. So we have 2 things here basically that we have to deal with. One of them is the real solution that this shouldn't happen. Okay, so probably in the code you should probably check whether the $y is 0 and you're trying to divide, and then say that no, we can't do that. But I'll go further. We should probably deal with in general later on with these errors. Okay, so what happens if there is an exception in our code, and not just raise a bad like internal server error because that users don't like it. And I mean, it doesn't look good. All right. But the last one that I wanted to say and explicitly here, that while you are developing, you would like to see here some details, so you don't have to go to the console. And I'm going to show you later on how you can do that. So instead of seeing just this 500 error, you will actually see much more details here right in the browser. Okay, so how can we solve some of these problems? Well, for that there is the other solution that I have, or the real solution, which is in the calc directory. So the first part is the same, nothing changes. There are 2 main changes. One of them is that the x and the y defaults to 0. So we have these 2 slashes, and then it says defaults to 0. Okay, maybe actually shouldn't be 2 slashes. Maybe it should be 2 pipes, because even if there's empty string, it should be 0. So it should be set to be 0. Okay, so it's maybe not the right solution. Let me stop this here and store the other one. So let's go here and run the other solution. And now if I go back to the browser and remove this 0, and let's put it to a plus, calculate. Okay, so still I get the argument empty string. So apparently my solution was on the right one. So let me fix this now. And here it is. I'm going to fix it, and I'm not sure if this is really the right solution, okay? As I said, maybe it's better to give an error message to the user if the user forgot to give a number. Or maybe, I mean, we don't even handle cases when the user types in just some string, okay? It will be assumed to be 0. So there's more to do here, okay? And I'm just thinking aloud about it, okay? So that's it. And the other issue that we had is the division by 0, okay, here. Now it says cannot divide by 0 because we had this condition that says operator, if the operator is equal to division and y is equal to 0, then return cannot divide by 0. Now it also says that it's bad request. Okay, so what is bad request? I don't know actually how to show it. It's in Firefox. I think you can, let me check it. I think view page info, and I think there somewhere you should be able to see, oh, I forgot where it is. You should be able to see somewhere that the response code, okay? That the response, what was the response code? Which wasn't 200, okay? So that's, sorry, I forgot it. But that's why we have the tests for, okay? We'll be able to see that. But let me just point you here. So this status, this sets actually what is the status code that's being sent back. You could just send back 200 okay and then say cannot divide by 0. That's also could be okay or could be accepted, but probably it's a better idea to send back an error status saying that the user basically sent in some incorrect data. And as I said, probably we have to improve it further because if the user types in just something ABC here and we do the addition, it will be taken as 2. So you won't get an error message, but it will be used as a 2, which is probably not a good idea. Probably you should give an error message at this point. Okay, so this is that part. Now let's look at the test. Okay, so here is the test. The test will, so this is just testing the main page. We check whether we send the GET request to the slash, and then we check whether it's 200 okay, and we check if the form is in there. So that's not very interesting. And then there is the calculator test, the test of the actual calculator. And here what I did is I created 4 test cases. The 4 test cases are, this is the data that's being sent as a post request to the route. Okay, so the X gets a number, the Y gets some value. These are strings in the end, but well, in Perl it doesn't really matter. So X is 10, Y is 2, and the operator is the add string. And this is the expected value. So we have an array of arrays, okay? And in the internal arrays, we have 2 values. The first value is a hash, a reference to a hash, which is the input, and the second one is the expected result, because this application only returns the result to make it easier. And then, so we have these four cases, and then we have a loop going over these cases, and for each case we send in the case the zeros place. So this is the first element here, okay? This is going to be the first one every time in the small one. So the dollar case is every time one of these array references, and then we get back the 200 okay, and then when the result is, we are checking if the result is this string. Okay, so the result is not just the number, but the text, the result is, and the number. And so that's how we test it. And we have also a separate case when sending in a post request to the calc, when the Y is 0 and X is not given, okay, and is division, and then I could give the X here, and then it returns, the status line is expected to return 400 bad request. So this is how you would probably indicate to the client that the client didn't send in the correct information, okay? and therefore you get some error. And it still can get some response that can be some plain text like here, or it can be a nice HTML page, whatever you'd like. That's how you can do this in Dancer. So this is how you test it, and as above you saw, using the status command, that's how you set the status lines. And here at the bottom you can have two links. One of them is pointing to the documentation of Dancer, where it describes a little bit about the status lines. Okay, it doesn't give you the full list, but I think there is this these functions that could return you all the list of all these words that you could use for the specific HTTP status codes. And the second link leads to some page in the Mozilla documentation, where you can actually see the description and the meaning of each one of the status codes that you are expected to send back. You just have to find out the real name that Dancer uses for them. So that's it for the first exercise, and I see that we already have like 60 minutes, so I'm going to stop now, and I'm going to do the second exercise and the solution for the second exercise in the next video. I think we've covered everything, including the status code, and the one about the error message and how to show the better report. I will while you are developing code, I'll show it later on after the exercises. So that's it for now.